such a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you tonight. I see that people are joining us from all over, which is always really exciting. I see that we have people from all over California, and I suspect even beyond. So thank you everybody that have joined us tonight, that have chosen to spend this hour with us. We are so delighted to kick off this amazing exhibition with submissions from, we've had submissions from all across the world for this exhibition that explores the meeting points between our experience as individuals and what happens in our streets at a time when we're going back to being together, and our streets have been, our experience of our streets have been so dramatically redefined by our global experiences over the past few years. So I want to thank the team. I want to thank everybody who submitted their works and shared their beautiful practice with us. I also want to thank our board of directors and board of advisors for their ongoing support. And I'm also grateful to Angela Bryant, our juror. We'll hear more about her later on tonight. So as Janice mentioned, we're an enthusiastically driven nonprofit. We at LACP know that visual storytellers change the world and that they need a safe space to own their craft and articulate their voice. And we're honored and thrilled and delighted to have had so many photographers share their creative journeys with us and grow and develop their practice by working with us. And tonight is just one example of the things that we do throughout the year, online and in person here in LA, to help grow the field of photographic practice and help support the work of creatives worldwide. So without any further ado, I'd like for us to spend just a few minutes seeing the amazing works that were selected by our juror. So let's take a look at all of these works, and then we'll hear from our top 3 places winners. all see how and experience how wonderful it is to see all these moments from across the world and see what's happening in streets worldwide. And those impressions, those experiences, is something that we've also longed for over the past few years. And it's wonderful to be able to experience this space with all of you. And we are so grateful for all the amazing artists that have shared their work with us. And now I would like to introduce our third place winner, Eric Anderson. We're going to hear from our top three winners. Each of them is going to be talking a little bit about their work, and we will then take questions. So feel free to drop your questions through the Q&A, and we will address them later on. So Eric, who is based in Colorado, has been an active photographer since the early 80s when he got his first 35mm camera, although he considers himself as an emerging artist because it wasn't until he retired in the past year or so that he started to seriously share his work through social media and with competitions like ours here at LACP. And we were delighted to learn that he also plans to launch a website this year. Eric shared with us that his work as a nonprofit executive and his own travels took him to many places where he was able to capture images all over the world, and how the spontaneity of street photography is his favorite. So I want to hand it over to you, Eric, so you can share firsthand about your experience and your work. Thank you for being with us tonight.
And thank you for having me, Rotem. It's an absolute honor for me to be with the LACP. I only joined just a number of weeks ago, and to have already being highlighted in this exhibition is an absolute thrill. And I'm just so impressed with all of the images that we just saw. So I'm in great company, absolute great company.
Wonderful. Let this be a message to all of you. You just joined as a member, and look at him now. Take it away, Eric.
Yeah, you won't get chosen as a winner unless you join. No, that just kidding. So at any rate, I'll get right into my my presentation. Again, it's a great honor to be part of this exhibition. And I'm starting with the first image, which is the winning image, my third place winning image. This was taken in Mwanza, Tanzania, in the fish market early morning. This young fellow was sitting on his boat away from the hustle and bustle of the market. And it was just a captivating scene. He didn't know I took the image, and I was delighted with how it came out. The next image puts the fish market somewhat in context. This is on the shores of Lake Victoria in Tanzania. And here you can see the people working on the harvest of the tilapia, of a fish that many of you have probably enjoyed eating. This is one of the places where it comes from. And it's just a bustling market filled with lots of color, lots of people. And I was the only white person in the entire market, and it was a joy to be there. And I was greeted fondly and in a friendly way by most people, but there were a couple of incidents where there was some skepticism. The next image is also, these are both from Tanzania. The one on the left, I was part of a mission trip, if you will, with Optometry Giving Sight, which is an organization that I worked for. It's where I retired from. And what Optometry Giving Sight does is they provide vision care, particularly glasses, to those who are in need. One of our visiting sites was the Matindu School in Tanzania, which is a school for children who are not able to stay with their parents. And there's a very large contingent of albino Africans there. And this is one of the children, one of the albino children that I was able to capture. And I think it is a very strong image. The child is not in a cage. It just happens to be a window that has a screen on it, as you see. The next image is also in Tanzania, in a different marketplace. Back to the other image. Thank you. This is a young Muslim girl who I saw out of the corner of my eye, and I just stood there for a moment, and then I walked in front of her. She was intently hitting her phone with her fingers, and then at one moment she just looked up at me and snapped the photograph. So that was like capturing the moment, if you will. The next photograph is also in Tanzania. This is truly a street photo. Here are 4 women who are helping to construct the new highway that leads to the Serengeti Plain. And we happen to have stopped on another road that's just below this, down the little hillside. And I saw these women from below, and I walked up, and I was just charmed by them. And the woman there in the front was obviously charmed by me and delighted to have her photograph taken. The next image is in Guatemala. And I took this during another of my forays for optometry giving sight. And I had a day completely to myself, and I wandered the streets of Antigua, Guatemala. And if you've ever been to Guatemala or countries like it, the military has a very strong presence. And these guys drove by in their patrol vehicle, and I just happened to capture them at the right time and caught the gentleman behind the gun who looked straight at me. And I was a little bit worried, wondering, are they going to stop and take my camera? But they kept on. And the next image is also from Guatemala. I noticed that Michael had taken a shot during Semana Santa in San Miguel. This is also Semana Santa in Antigua, Guatemala. I took this some years ago. In Guatemala, or in Antigua, they line the streets with what they call alfombras, which means carpet in Spanish. And these alfombras are made out of natural materials, be they pine needles or leaves or sawdust or chips of wood or what have you. And then the procession, the Semana Santa procession, marches through the alfombras, through all the streets, and messes them up. So they're very temporary. But this image is quite strong, and it was a joy to capture many images there. The next images are, the one on the left is also from Guatemala. It's 2 brothers. They were in the cemetery of Chichicastenango, and they were there with their older brother, perhaps his father, I'm not sure what he was, but they were in the process of constructing a family tomb. And these 2 young guys just happened to stand together, and I caught them. And it's one of my favorite images that I've ever taken. And since that time, sometime thereafter, my wife and I, we adopted 2 children from Guatemala, a boy and a girl. And then the image on the left for you Angelinos, and again, I noticed Mike had an image from Venice Beach. This is the famous character King Solomon, who was a snake charmer, if you will, even though the snakes, I have since learned, are not real. And caught him on the top of his ladder on a very sunny day. And he was quite the sight, and he has since passed on. The next shot was from the time when I lived in Ann Arbor. My wife was going to grad school at the time, and I was really somewhat in the beginning stages of my photography. I was only shooting film, black and white film predominantly. And these fellows were gathered together, and I caught their eye, they caught my eye, and they fell into this pose. It's a bit foreboding, but it speaks to youth, if you will, speaks to some of our youth today, unfortunately. It's a kind of a stark image, if you will, somewhat controversial. The next image is truly another street photo as I was heading into New York through the Midtown Tunnel, and just stuck my camera outside of the cab window and captured this shot. Fifth Avenue, New York City. And you have to look at this twice, but it's actually a storefront. And this photograph was on the entire storefront. And right there on the right right side here is the entrance, and you can see the escalators and a woman walking by. Next image. This I took just a few weeks ago here in Denver. It's Union Station, and of all the shots, this is the only one that I took with my iPhone. And it's actually a color shot that I converted to black and white, and I really like the effects of all the lines. And then the final shot, this too was here in Denver during the Cinco de Mayo celebration in downtown Los Angeles. And this is the only photo of my presentation where I asked the subject if I could actually take their photo. And he is an Aztec dancer, if you will. So thank you so much for the opportunity to show my work. And I look forward to hopefully having the opportunity to do so again at some point. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. It's so wonderful to hear all these amazing stories behind the work and really get a sense of what you were going through on the ground and how you understood the situations that you were in and the relationship that you've had with the people in the photographs. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Michael, let me introduce you to our audience. Michael Lynch, a visual artist and a Los Angeles native who was born in Santa Monica 2 months after his Irish parents emigrated to the United States. The city has informed his passion for landscape and street photography, as we can also see tonight. He began formal training in film photography in the late 1980s and has maintained his passion for learning to this day. He won Best Experimental Image in the Santa Monica College Photo Show and has been showing his work in various local exhibitions and events, this being one of them. And we're so delighted that you shared your work with us, Michael, and we can't wait to hear you talk about this.
Great. Thank you so much, Rhoda. It's really an honor to be included with all these other great photographers. I want to again thank you. I want to thank LACP, Angela Bryant for selecting 2 of my images in the show. And I just wanted to, I'm on the backs of all my instructors that I've taken over the last 2.5 years or so. I've really kind of focused on street photography and done a lot of studying. I won't read all the names here, but there's tons of people here that are very important. Sam Abel is one of my top, I've really got a photographer crush on him. So let's go from there. But lots of people, including from Keith Carter, which I got through LACP, Greg Gorman, Sarah Hadley, Mark Edward Harris, Ken Murfield, George Nabechi Creative, and other folks. Barry Annex and Renzi have been really inspirational street photographers of mine. So I'll start off with hopefully an inspirational quote. Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. If you wait around for the clouds to part and a bolt of lightning to strike you in the brain, you're not going to make an awful lot of work. All the best ideas come out of the process. They come out of the work itself. Chuck Close was so correct. You got to do the work. I was initially drawn to photography, black and white photography by Ansel Adams, particularly the Joffrey Pine image. And I focused on landscape photography for many, many years. And during one of my presentations to one of my landscape photographers, Michael Fry out of Yosemite, I presented some what I call urban landscape, which is street photography. And he recommended that I consider, getting more into street photography since I live in Los Angeles and had much more access to street photography. And I wasn't quite getting out a lot to do the landscape stuff due to my proximity and work schedule. But he urged me here, and that brought me to LACP for Street Week. And during Street Week, I was exposed to lots of great photographers. Sam Abel was one of them, Baron X. Lots of other folks were there during that week. It was really an intensive period for me. And I got to meet this guy in one of the street classes. And he came out of that fence and said, "What do you guys," he saw 5 or 6 photographers there, and he asked the question, "What are you taking pictures of, the good or the bad?" I said, "The good. Can I take your picture?" And he said, "Yes." So I got such a surge of energy from that moment, which has led me to many moments when I energized by connecting with strangers. I'm an introvert by nature, and it takes a lot of energy for me to get beyond that fear to connect with other people. This was taken in February of 2020. You know what happened right after that? We were locked down, the COVID lockdown pretty much shut everything down. I was frustrated as an artist. I felt that, everybody could wear a mask. I couldn't get a decent street shot. But and I also was planning to do a 500-mile trek across Spain called Camino Santiago, May of 2020. I had to put that on back burner too. So I was very disappointed. But I continued with my classes, and in particular, Tom Alleman and Barry Nex taught me to get off my butt, go outside in my neighborhood or within my house, and I could find some stuff to shoot there. And I did. And there was a wealth of subject matter just right outside the door. The silver lining during the COVID period too was that there were many opportunities to learn about other photographers in the virtual world. I found No Bet You Create's Evening with the Masters, which is a weekly series, which really became a sanctuary for me and something to look forward during the difficult times. Every week I was able to watch world-class photographers present their work and get ideas and inspiration. I also looked at my work from this time, and I found most of the images were isolated. There's lots of single subject images. And that was the way I was feeling. Again, I was really feeling frustrated, handcuffed. Even in the expanse of Griffith Park, I was feeling isolated. Highland Park too. But we're seeing the mask, we're seeing the time of the COVID. And then I got off, I got inspired. I was, instructors sending me out. I was able to do some street portraits with the masks, but I wasn't getting that buzz or the energy that I talked about earlier from that gentleman with the chains from back in February of 2000. But this was probably due to my self-limiting feelings of frustration and also not really opening up to it. So I was still able to find interesting subjects. But again, I'm not connecting. I don't feel a connection with these people. I'm not getting electricity. Then things started to kind of slow down. People started easing up, and I could get the connection. I get smile. I get the energy off these people. I traced these people down in Union Station. Was able to watch them as they're walking to a train for, I think, a ladies' weekend out. But it was, again, I really lived off the energy these people gave me. A woman in the middle in particular, really, I really felt connected to her. This image is a direct result of what Sam Abel taught me, to compose and wait. So I found the back layer there is, I was really attracted to the colors and the variety colors there. Also to the positive message of the text. It was an optimistic message. This was January 2021, and I was hopeful we would be going from rags to riches in the context of recovery from COVID. But COVID still lingered. The masks were stifling, yet in this picture here, 20 years from now, I'll be able to look at this and go, hey, that was during COVID. It's marking the time. There was still optimism coming out of my work. Then, one of the first places that seemed to return to normal was Venice, California, if it ever returns to normal. I grew up in Venice and holds a special place in my heart. It's always been a place for bohemians and self-expression. Once the mask started to come off, I could gain a deeper connection with my subjects once again, which resulted in greater energy for me. I guess I was like a vampire, only my energy came from the connection that I make with my subjects, not their blood. Also, the mask down makes it much easier to read some of the subject's emotion. This guy presented himself in Chinatown. I couldn't believe it. I took a few shots and he exploded with this expression. Again, I get energy from this picture looking at it, but I really was able to absorb it. So during this time frame, I was doing a lot of self-reflection. And as we emerged out of limitations of COVID, I began to discover that I believe there are sacred moments to be found in everyday life, if you pay attention. When I'm in the moment, paying attention with my camera, something special usually happens. The camera allows me to connect deeper with my surroundings, and I believe the universe will provide the subject matter if you are ready and paying attention. As the world opened up, I began to open up. I was able to see and feel more effectively. I was in the moment and alive again. Frustration was replaced by wonder. I could anticipate moments and connect to the emotions around me. I once again felt part of a bigger world. Special moments appeared frequently. It was fantastic. Isolation remained a theme, but the energy was different. Here I connected to this young boy's sense of wonder as he entered this church. The world is so different to the eyes of a child, but these moments are fleeting. A second later, his mom came in and scooped him up. I was grateful to have witnessed and captured this moment and have my inner childlike wonder renewed. Here, a hiker is reflecting before she heads out for the day. I felt her inward journey. A moment later, she was on the move. This image of a boy and his dog, I connected with his pensive moment and wondered what problems he was trying to solve or what he was worrying about. I saw several people go into this bar in Spain, so I thought I'd check it out. I ordered a Coke Zero for the bar, and I was delighted to witness this scene and tried to disappear as I snapped a few photos of the men watching the bullfight on TV. As I finished my Coke for a brief moment, I felt like a local. I felt that I was both an observer and part of this special universe. This photo was taken in April, just last month, during Semana Santa, Holy Week in San Miguel, during a pause in a procession. Traditions that were paused were now coming back to life. The San Miguel was filled with tourists. It was fantastic. This woman's expression in the middle is what stopped me with this image. I was struck by her sorrow. All the participants were so in character. It was really a timeless moment. Here, a woman appears to be scolding a group of children. My inner child winced as I pressed the shutter. I was delighted at this scene with a craftsman making a sail illuminated by ambient light. Here, I really like the light. I like the diagonal line hitting this subject here. And I really tried to organize this information succinctly. But the southern sign really is what caught me. And I knew it would look good in black and white. Here's another compose and wait scenario where the back layer there of the mural provided my initial interest. And I just waited for something good to happen. And light and shadow. Here, if you're paying attention as you're walking down a street in Paris, you might catch a pensive moment of a pastry chef. And on cue here in Paris, a man dressed mainly in black walks into an all-white a room of all-white Dior dresses. And this is one of the honorable mention images. I saw a princess illuminated by window light, adding to the elegance of the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles. And my second place winning image is from Portobello Road in London. Initially, I was attracted to the light and the angles here. I liked the patina on that stanchion in the center, and I just waited for something good to happen. I took several images of this situation, but this one seemed the best, where the woman's hair color and jacket almost matched the background. But again, this is kind of bringing all the stuff I learned together. Sam Abel's compose and wait. Pay attention to what stops you. The Baron X Perillo's light and shadow. Tom Alaman's making sense out of the chaos, as well as all I've learned from my instructors and all the critiques that other students are providing. I want to thank them. I thank LACP, and I thank Angela Bryant and all of you here tonight. One more thing. I'm happy to report that in June of 2022, I completed the 500-mile journey I talked about earlier. The pilgrimage from St. Jean Pied de Port, France, to the western edge of Spain in Santiago de Compostela. It was truly a transformational journey. It was spiritual, physical, artistic. Currently, I'm working on a book about my journey, along with the interviews and portraits I did of 40 pilgrims I met along the way. But then again, that's a different story. Thank you so much, LACP. Thank you so much. I'm really proud to be part of this show.
Michael, thank you so much. And we can't wait to hear more about the book and share it with our community once you're ready. I'm really struck by fascinating meeting points that you offer there between that sense of ritual and sacred moment, and photography and street photography in and of itself as a ritual that opens up a whole new way of looking at the world. So thank you so much, Michael. And now I'd like to introduce our first place winner, which I don't know if this will come as a surprise for many of you. It was a surprise for us to learn that Dominic Benson Landis, our first place winner, is actually a 16-year-old high school student based here in LA. Had shared with us that he had loved photography since he was very young, which I guess means last year. I don't know. He enjoys traveling and sports and being outdoors, and found that taking pictures is a great way to capture glimpses of life, which is such a wonderful understanding to have about photography and its power. Dominic, are you there? Are you ready to talk to us a little bit about your work?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Dominic. How are you? Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I think what we'll do is maybe we'll share. I see that maybe we'll just share your image so that everybody at home can take a look at your work. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you took that image and the experience of taking that photograph.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I was actually on a school project when I took this photo. We were doing like street photography, the street photography unit. And I really like Venice, and I feel like there's a lot of like interesting people and characters. And I also really like movement in photographs. And I took this photo like right before we actually had to leave Venice. And it was like right as the sun started to set. And there was all these people trying to jump over this guy who was sitting down at the bottom of the photo. And I got like a couple photos, but none of them were really like any like special to me. And then finally, one of my last few photos, this guy like ended up like soaring out of the bowl a lot higher than like pretty much everyone else. I mean, he didn't stick the landing, but and I thought
But
like
we
all
don't
the
have
colors.
to, as far as we're concerned, he made the landing. Like this is an image of an opportunity and momentum, right? Maybe he did
Yeah.
make the landing. We don't know.
Yeah, but I just thought all the colors were really beautiful and how he was like silhouetted and you can't really see who he is. And yeah, and I'm really honored and thank you to LACP and Angela Bryant for this honor. And I'm really inspired by all these other photographers and all their beautiful work. And thank you.
Dominic, we're so delighted that you've shared your work with us, and we can't wait to see what you'll continue on producing and what you'll continue on doing. Do you think you're gonna experiment with photography a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, as you already know, I really have always liked photography, and I grew up in a family that really likes photography. So I definitely like think this is like the beginning of my journey as a photographer, and I'm definitely gonna like continue in the years to come.
That warms my heart to hear that. Fantastic. And we can't wait to have you come back and share more of your work with us. Thank you so much, Dominic.
Thank you.
And with that, I want to introduce someone that we have been mentioning throughout this evening, Angela Bryant, our amazing juror. Angela has served, if I can introduce her as well, she had served as an adjunct professor and independent curator, guest lecturer at multiple institutions, and co-founded Mount Curatorial Residency. She had also written contemporary art essays and has also been published. And for the past 3 years, Angela has been serving as the director of, she has been serving, apologies, as the director of exhibitions for O'Connor Art Gallery at Dominican University, where her programming highlighted the work of both emerging and established artists in two-person and group exhibitions. And currently, she's the managing director of Rose Gallery right here in Santa Monica, California. Angela, I would like to invite you to yourself and show us your face if you can. We would love to hear a little bit more about the process of selecting the images.
Of course. I'm usually doing like one-on-one or a small group, but I have no idea how many people are on this Zoom. But
oh, Angela, there are dozens of people here with us tonight, and we have been singing your praises throughout this evening. Angela, what can you share with us? What can you share with us about the selection process? What stood out to you? Maybe some of the through lines that you may have seen in the works that you reviewed for this exhibition.
Yeah, so I try to do a very intuitive process. I go through every single image without making any selections, no stars, no anything. And then I go through it again. And there's always the same images that popped out to me on the first go round that were still there when I came around again. And so my process is I don't select until the second go round, which there was over 1,000 images. You have a very prolific submission process. So that was fun. I enjoy looking at images, so it was a bonus. But what I was trying to do is just remember and indicate which ones really popped out to me, like what stood out. And I thought, there's so many honorable mentions. This will be great because I was liking a lot of images, and I thought, no worries, I've got 27 honorable mentions to do. And when all was said and done, I had 5 of the top 3. I knew I was going to pick from there. And I had about 60 honorable mentions. And I go, oh my goodness, I went way over. But all that is just a testament to the submissions because they were very, very good. I feel like the curatorial statement that was made was very poignant, and the work lined up with it. And it was a very interesting process to go through all of these images because I felt like I was reliving the past 2 years. And I went through everything. It went from, desolate streets, complete isolation, no one's around, to seeing people in masks, but, spread apart, to all of these wonderful crowded photos where people were doing festivals and it was like everyone was back getting together. But the 3 main images that I chose still all had that element of isolation to them. Each of them only had one. Well, the first place, there is another character below, but it's kind of hard to see him. But yeah, they all still had isolation mixed with somehow a sense of community still. It was the environment that they were put in. So yeah, that was one thing I appreciated, and I love the global aspect of it because it also brought together a sense of connectedness. I'm looking at an image from Tanzania and then also one in London, and then also, but there's the same feel, throughout all of these submissions. And I found that fascinating. I really enjoyed.
There's something about street photography that on the human level, when people enter the frame, and I think we could see that tonight too, that no matter where we are in the world, there's that sense of playfulness, right? You could see how both in Michael's images and in Eric's images, people interacted with them on such a human level that, was driven by their spontaneous response to what they were experiencing, no matter where they were or how different their life circumstances had been, right? And that really came across in those images. Yes, I agree. It was a fun process. It was really kind of nice. I hesitate to say it just because it sounds a little bit on the cheesy side, but the human spirit and the feeling of thriving, through all of this, like the perseverance, that's what I was really seeing through the photos. What a beautiful message it is to conclude our conversation tonight with I don't care, let's be cheesy. We just went through the most complicated 3 years ever, right? Let's just celebrate the fact that we're here and with one another. Absolutely. Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much. And a huge thank you for all of our winners and our honorable mention photographers and all of the amazing artists that have celebrated with us tonight and have also submitted their works for this exhibition. We can't wait to see you again. And we're so grateful that you've chose to share your creative journey with us. And we can't wait to have more opportunities to honor and celebrate photographic practice worldwide. So just before we conclude, I just want to remind you where we started off with an early bird sale on all of our amazing, okay, I shouldn't say all because Janice will kill me, but we are launching a whole new catalog of classes, workshops, and events. And a lot of them have special opportunities and early bird sale that everybody here should take advantage of until June 13th. And I have to say something about our teen summer camp. We've just seen our first place winner, a 16-year-old high school student that produced such beautiful, beautiful work. And that happened with a street photography class. So who knows, maybe your teen will have their opportunity to redefine their career as well. Join us this summer for a teen summer camp. All the details can be found on our website. And I think we also dropped some links in the chat to that. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And we can't wait to share more. There are so many more exciting things to come from us. Stay tuned, join our mailing list, become a member, and let's continue on developing this amazing field of photographic practice. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Angela, and see you all again soon.